All right, question 4. Once again, we have a picture showing us here. We've got some information. Low blood levels, we get the release of glucagon. There's the key. Hydrophilic hormone. See, you were told you don't have to learn about glucagon. They target cells are liver cells, and it causes this to occur. And what this is glycogen broken down to glucose. Glycogenolysis is breaking glycogen, which is glycogen to glucose, into the bloodstream. And there we have the glucagon that comes from the pancreas, circulates in the blood. So this is our hormone, even if we didn't know its name, and then acts on the liver cells. This is the target cells. And this is the cell response. Okay, so here's the question. Describe how hydrophilic hormones, like this one, stimulates metabolism, like this, inside a cell. So we're talking about the hydrophilic start. They're asking you to explain a hydrophilic hormone action. So the first thing you've got to do is talk about that it's going to attach to a membrane receptor. You can do on the liver cells as unable to cross the membrane, because it is water soluble. So that's the first step. We've got the reception. Second step, we're going to again talk about the secondary messengers. Being activated, because that is the unique thing about water soluble signal molecules. Then we're going to talk about a series of enzymes in the cytosol activated. You can mention there is amplification here, if you wish. And then what you're going to finally say is, oh, I forgot to put number 3 there, sorry. My wrong numbers. And then what you're finally going to say is that a cellular response occurs because you have to talk about metabolic process, e.g. glycogen converted to glucose, something like that. So I know it's worth 2 marks, but you needed to talk about reception, transduction, response. And the transduction here has 2 parts to it. RTR has 2 parts to it. All right, moving on. When this thing happens, the concentration of glucose in the cytosol increases. Glucose passes through by facilitated diffusion. Explain how facilitated diffusion occurs. So here we are, we've suddenly got a question all about hormones, and we're back to area of study 1, movement of molecules across the membrane, chapter 1. Now, some people thought they would just say glucose moves across by facilitated diffusion. You're already given that, so that isn't going to get you a mark. It's the how. And when you're talking about movement across a membrane, there are 3 things to talk about. Direction, pathway, and energy. They're the 3 things that need to be mentioned in this story. So to answer this, you need to say glucose will move from inside when I say direction, that's talking about concentration. Moves from inside the cell, where it is a high concentration, to outside the cell, where low concentration. Or you could write, glucose moves from high concentration inside to low concentration outside. But the thing is, people said glucose would move into the cell. This example, inside the cell is high. So it's going to go from inside where it's high to outside. So that was the first point. The second point, it will move across the carrier proteins. Across the membrane, via carrier proteins. That's the pathway. This is passive movement. That means no ATP is used. And I know it's again worth 2 marks, but all 3 aspects had to be explained. And if you got one of them wrong, then you only got 1 mark. So important to read questions and don't presume. We're always talking about glucose moving into the cell for cell respiration. Well, this is a liver breaking down glycogen to glucose to return it back into the blood plasma. So the movement is going to be out of the liver cell into the interstitial fluid and then into the plasma. All right, then the final bit, we have muscle cells contract. Which organelle in large numbers in heart muscle cells to supply the energy, and explain. Now, obviously, everyone wrote mitochondria. And that gave you a mark. That was the which organelle part. It's the explain part that people didn't do fully. And what you had to talk about is contraction of the muscle cells require high levels of ATP energy. ATP is produced in the mitochondria by cellular respiration. More energy means more mitochondria. Actually, I'll go the other way around. More mitochondria means more energy supplied or available. You had to obviously talk about mitochondria is where ATP is produced, but you also had to talk about why are there more? And there are more because it is about supplying this higher level of energy. So that is, again, something a little bit more different. It started off as an Area of Study 2 question, and then it went into the world of Area of Study 1 again. And that's what you'll find. There are questions that incorporate lots of information from lots of different aspects of the course. It's not just going to be a question on one topic. They're mainly confined into the multiple choice questions as such.